So hello and welcome. This is Erica Glessing, and I have with us a very special guest today. Her name is Melanie Meade. Welcome, Melanie.
Thanks, Erica.
And Melanie, just give our listeners a little taste of where you're from and what the weather's like there today.
I live in wet Ireland. We have snow somewhere in the country, but not here.
Okay.
So I'm from Cork in Ireland, and yeah, it's cold.
Yeah. It's cold here, but cold here is like 67.
Yeah, you definitely spot that I was not from America if you saw me over there. I think I might be in my t-shirts and shorts today.
How funny. Yeah. So, you know what I love about the topic that we're going to get into on releasing judgment is really how universal it is.
Yeah.
That blows me away. Like every single part of the world, every single household grapples with this topic. And, your chapter in this book, The Power of Releasing Judgment, called Born Free, that was kind of fun because it actually opened up on a different time in your life and then took us through some more of the challenges. So tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit about your story, Melanie.
So for me, excuse me, I kind of came up with the idea because it was a running theme through my life. Like even though I tell the story, and as the story progresses through the years, other stuff happened, but this was something that was quite present all the time. It was so the way I kind of looked at it was, you kind of come into the world as you, and then as things change and as you start going out into the big bad world, you start seeing things or hearing things, and things automatically start changing.
Yeah.
And that's like, for me, it was kind of like, yippee, life is wonderful. And then people are like, no, or stop, or, and then you think it's you. You like, right. I don't know if you
like something's wrong with you. Yeah. Or
exactly that. Yeah. This is me that's doing all of this, and maybe I should stop. And all that it is other people getting on with their lives, or
right.
So for me, the journey very much was buying it, that it was wrong, and then releasing it.
Right. I guess even in that space of buying it as wrong, I really see that now as a mom too, where having unbridled energy is like no one can really handle it very well. So in school situations,
and happiness.
Yeah, it's like having good, happy, yummy energy even, or bad energy, like horror, any kind of massive amounts of energy, which most human beings actually have a lot of energy. And so immediately it feels like it's this damping down, or this trampling down, this fit into this, or I think you tapped into that better than, I don't know if anyone else really took that on like that, like that it's such a universal.
Oh, very much so. And that's the beauty of it. For me, the chapter is hard to describe because it talks on a lot of levels, if you know what I mean. Like, I could go into loads of different, but it's quite simple at the same time. It's the beauty of living and how we end up projecting it because we buy everything else that everybody says. And for me personally, in the story, I took things on and I saw things possibly as wrong that they matched what I knew, and then it was all just warped. It was just, and it was all me. Do you know what I mean? Wow. It wasn't necessarily like, and I think that's my point. My point to the story is, you get to choose for you. Like, you get to choose all those judgments, because if somebody said to me, I've got long black hair, I go, ha ha ha, it's so obvious I don't.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So when people are saying stuff to you, and you buy it, somewhere you must believe it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And you forget that you're great and you're magic and you're brilliant, and like, some stuff is so relevant and you make it so relevant, and then you just become grey and colourless and lifeless, and you just exist.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what it was.
I think is pretty interesting about your chapter. I loved how you brought in your grandfather and
Yeah.
his sort of militaristic traits, and then kind of where you were alike and different from that. And then it's like, in the end, I love how you kind of go through it. Because
Yeah.
like a rejection, and it was, tell a little bit, because I mean, that was so cool the way you showed that example, and I really felt it, and then you just turned it around. So it was really interesting.
He was quite a big personality. He was in the army, and we fast forward years in my life, people used to call me Sergeant Major and stuff, because as life got more contracted, I could do military really well. I was efficient, I get it done. Like the feeling, the joy, the happiness. It was like, no, let's just do it. We'll not get a reaction. We'll just get it
Wow.
done. And I bought a lot of that. Made it
Yeah.
his own. Kind of made him wrong too for it, because, all of a sudden I was wrong. He had to be wrong as well. We were the same.
Right?
He was a big personality. He was a strong man.
Yeah.
I reckon he was similar to me. And this is the gift of him in my life, is I got to see he did not have the tools that have been gifted to me to live a fuller life.
Right.
And he was the same. He was like, quiet, don't bother me. Not in a nasty way, but just cold and distant. And I could identify with that, because when life gets too much, you can just withdraw. And so I had a bit of a struggle with identifying it, rejecting it, and then eventually just going, oh my God, he was just the same as me. We didn't know how to be anymore.
Wow.
So much. Don't be too big.
Yeah.
Don't be too powerful.
Right.
And when I say powerful, it's just really.
Right. He was shut down in much the same way, because he had a lot of energy also.
Oh yeah, and that man was it's just so funny what he was capable of doing, and being and I tell a story about him in it, and just being in the military, and armies is to do with fighting, and he was a peacekeeper.
Wow.
But what he was able to do by his sheer presence, and it didn't take a gun, it didn't take fists, it just
wow.
it just took this determination,
right.
And it was kind of like, I'm not going to give up. And that's something he couldn't really express here, but he did have it in him. And once I grasped that, I went, oh my God, I've been denying my greatness.
Right.
And that's what fascinated me about him.
Wow, I love that. Tell me, for those the people listening right now who are maybe grappling with some parental issues, not that we don't, of kind of either whether they find themselves rebelling or hating how their parents were to them, or blaming their present because they can see the patterns that they, so gracefully, certainly myself picked up some pretty interesting habits and patterns from the people that raised me, my mom and dad. And so tell me a little bit about sort of what choices we have instead of, that whole piece where, how you just be like, well, I can't ever do this because my parents were like that.
Yeah. So I have a teenage son, and I very much wanted him to have this really expansive life. He didn't have to be a millionaire or a straight A student. I really just wanted him to have the happiness I denied myself.
Right.
And so I gifted him everything, attention wise and love, everything I could. And it was actually, I can't remember the exact words, but it was Dr. Dane here said it to me, and I remember going, I was so focused on him having the life I wanted him to have, I didn't have that I wanted for him. And Dane said to me, he said, do not rule yourself out of the equation. He said, you get to have that full life too.
Wow.
Yeah. It's quite simplistic. It's just a choice. But he really, I've forgotten that was available to me. And whether you're a parent or a child or a grandparent, it's always available there for you. It's just a question of choosing it.
And how much do we take ourselves out of the equation?
Yeah.
In service to others, or
totally.
That's amazing. That's a great insight. Thank you so much for that. What other tools would you like to share with our audience since I have you? And you
My
have
favorite one. I've got loads. I've loads and loads. But my favorite one, as like for me, life is a journey. I'm never going to have, answers. And what's true for me might not be true for you. But one of the most beautiful things that was ever said to me about me when I wasn't sure, or when I was like, just sometimes you see life different. And that's the beauty of us all. We're all quite different, but we make other people more valuable. And it's like, oh, I see this as different and I don't know how to be it or do it or bring it into the world.
Right.
So you make yourself wrong. So the best thing I was ever told, and I love this, and I say it all the time, people that know me probably hate that I say it, but it's like, what if there's nothing wrong and nothing to fix?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
If you just flipped it on its head, it's complete, like, that's celebrating your difference. We spend so much time thinking we're wrong, so much time going, but I'm not this, and I've done it, I've loads of ways I've done it, loads. So now I actually look at the gift of the wrongness that I think it is, but if it's not wrong and it doesn't need fixing, what could it be?
Yeah.
Because everyone brings something very unique into the world. And actually, I wrote something down because I knew I'd forget it. Because this is, sorry, I seem to love the tools, but Dane has a quote, and it's actually my favorite one.
Okay.
So it's what is it that you are, that if you chose not to be it, may mean it never exists in our world?
Oh, say that again.
What is it that you are, that if you chose not to be it, may mean it never exists in our world?
How beautiful. Yeah.
And I didn't choose that for such a long time. So now I'm on a journey of exploring it.
I love it, Melanie. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
This was
Eric.
such a quick and fun time with you today. And let our listeners know how they can find you, reach you. Where are you? Can they find you online?
They can. It's melaniemeade.com. It's quite straightforward, and everything's there. You can contact me and everything online. It's quite simple.
Oh, well, I just love your story. It's so beautifully written. It's so heartfelt, and it's such an amazing journey that you share in it. So thank you for that contribution. And
Thanks, Erica.
Our paths will cross again, no doubt.
Sure thing. Thank you. Bye-bye.